what we've done is we now have got our sodium carbonate ready. We've actually pipetted our 20 mils into our volumetric, into our conical flask, that we rinsed with distilled water. Although we've got water in there, we know exactly that we've got 20 mils of the standard in this case, exactly 20 mils. Okay, the amount of water doesn't matter. The moles are locked in. 20 mils, however many moles there is in there, is what we're going to work with. I've also added our indicator. Now we need to know when the moles of the acid is equal to the moles of base. So the indicator is going to tell us that. According to the procedure, this starts off being orange, and when it goes into a slight red, okay, then it's telling me that the acid moles is equal to the base moles. And that's how we do our stoichiometric calculation. Alright, we're up to using the burette now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use the funnel. Got to be careful. I mean, this is not a really good procedure. I'd rather do it a little bit lower, but we'll do it for the time being. Make sure the tap's turned off. It's a trick that sometimes people forget. So I'm going to initially, again, I'm going to rinse my burette with the chemical that is going to go into the burette. Process looks something like this. So, although, and somebody said, well, I would have been able to get that chemical on my hand, it's no big deal. Okay, you wash it off in a minute and stuff. And so what I'm trying to do is to coat the inside of the burette all the way up and all the way down. And notice I'm doing it over the sink as well, with the chemical that's going to go into it. Okay, and I'm just going to simply then let it drain into the sink. Got to be careful with these. I've got a plastic, I think that's a plastic tip one. But you want to make sure that you don't drop it into the sink and break the tip, because that will cost you about $150 to replace. Cheap. Yep, not really. Alright, it's just going to drain. I'm just going to hurry that up. I'm going to go in this direction, which is fine. Okay, so I've done my rinsing. Again, I should be rinsing that at least twice. Okay, and now I'm ready to fill my burettes to the correct volume, and then we're going to what we call zero the burette. I'm going to put a beaker under there. We call that the rubbish beaker. Don't get it confused with your standard. Notice I should have written on here sodium carbonate. The white label is just used for lead pencil. Then you can rub it off and you can do that. So don't confuse that with your acid, or you're going to have all sorts of issues. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just simply to fill it over the zero. You'll see that in a minute. Over the zero. A bit more. You can take it actually out of the plant if you want to. This seems to be a really tall burette. The funnel has to come out. Okay, very important. The funnel comes out every single time. I'm going to lower that down, a little bit short today. And I want to actually take it down to the bottom of the meniscus. I'm really short today. Lower again. I'm trying to line it up as best I can, and I really want it to the bottom of the meniscus. Yeah, perfect. Alright, ready to go. And so, I am almost ready to go, but I'm going to do a few final checks. Here's the first thing that you need to do. Make sure the funnel's not in the burette. If you do, when I mark this, you're going to lose a mark straight away, because this could be dripping down and changing the volume of what you're reading. Next thing I'm going to look for is, are there any air bubbles in the tip of the burette? Okay, this has got no air bubbles in the tip of the burette, so it's pretty much ready to go.
If it did.
If it did, good question. So two ways of doing it, okay? You can put your finger over the bottom, okay, to turn it on and off and on and off, and you'll find the air bubble will disappear, okay? Sometimes, if you just turn it on slowly and just tap it, you'll find the air bubble will just disappear, okay? So there's two ways you can do that, and again, just make sure you wash your hands after you've done that. Alright, the other thing to be careful of, third thing is sometimes taps drip, okay? If the tap is dripping, there's no point in going any further with your experiment. You need to fix up the actual tap itself, alright? Questions? Everybody cool with that? All right, next one. So I prefer to have the conical flask, we say the neck, inside of the actual conical flask, the tip of the burette inside the neck of the flask. Because that way everything is contained. So I don't want to set the burette up here and you trying to do a titration down there. This technique will take you a little while to get, okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're right or left-handed, that's irrelevant. This is called a pistol grip, okay? It's not so critical with these burettes, but with the ones that you'll be using, if you do this, you can actually pull the tap out. This, you're pushing into the tap. That's the only reason why we use that technique. And you have a bit more control, because I'm resting my hand on the inside of the burette. So what I'm going to do now is, the first titration is what we call the rough titration. Okay, so I'm just going to now add all of this, and you'll see in a minute, okay, I'm going to definitely miss the end point. I want to try and get this red colour. But then I'll repeat it again, and I will keep this colour, and I want to record the volume in my results, okay. I don't need to re-zero, by the way. Whatever the volume is I'll use, I'll just go down to the next whole number. That will be my new value, subtract it from the next title value. Let's see if we can get as close as what we can. You notice that it's going red when the acid hits the base, because methyl orange is red in acid. We'll see if we can get as close as we can. And I've just now got it going drop by drop, because I think I'm close. Okay, I'm not. More. Whoa. Okay, I'm really close now to the end point, thick. And notice I'm going to do this. I'm going to rinse the tip of the burette, and I'm just going to rinse down the inside of the flask. Again, doesn't matter how much water I'm adding, I haven't changed the original volume that I added of my gnome. Okay, let's see if we can get this. Okay, there it is. Alright. Now, so I have gone past the end point, and there will also be a little drip on the end there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll record my volume, which is okay. Can somebody come around and tell me what the volume is? Anybody want to have a go? We measure from the bottom of meniscus. 4.3. You reckon? It's pretty hard to see from your side. Okay. 4.3. Yep. 4.3. Should be able to get to 4. Okay. Sig fig. Or 2 decimal places. I reckon it's probably 4.30. Okay. The bottom of the meniscus is exactly on the 3 mils. So 4.3. I record that volume 4.3 mils. Okay. Now, what I will do is, I am ready to do the second titration, and so now I'll take it down to 5 mils, say. Or I can leave it at 4.3, doesn't matter, but it's easy to go down to 5. So I just take 5, I record 5 as my initial, okay, and then I do the same thing with my second flask that I've got ready, and I want the next value to be within 0.1 of a mil. If it's not within 0.1 of a mil, you do another one. You get another flask, and you do it again. If you're not within 0.1 of a mil, you keep on going. Okay? Why? Any ideas?
You need to be accurate or accurate.
Okay, the word accurate is not what we're after.
Precise.
Precision. Yeah. We need to be able to repeat our data. So we're trying to reduce what sort of error we're going to reduce. Random. Precision. Random. Okay? So the more we do it, okay, the more precise our value should be. So we're after what's called a concordant titer, within 0.1 of a mil. Now I prefer, it depends on how many flasks you've got. This has obviously gone past the end point, that's one I wouldn't actually keep, but I'm going to set it near for when I do the next titration, and then I've got some sort of an indicator of that. Okay? What I would do now is, I've got an idea, is it 4.30?
Yeah.
Okay? So next time I'll take it down to 4 mils, bang, straight down to 4, okay? And then I'll start drip, 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 okay? Typically what will happen and I didn't do it this time, okay, typically what will happen, just before it turns to that red colour, that's the number we want to record. If we add one drop and it doesn't go red, that wasn't the end point, okay? So we add another drop, and then we record that colour, if it doesn't go red, that is. This is a bit past the end point, okay? So that we're trying to get as close to the end point as we possibly can. Okay, questions? Alright, so today is transfer your 20 mils of your standard, okay, into the conical flask after rinsing. So that's the pipetting technique. One thing I forgot to show you for the pipetting, okay, was that if you do get to this particular point, it's not going to suck anymore, you just open the air hole here, do that, and then you've got another, okay, another section that you can use a vacuum for. So just keep on doing that. Okay? Some people, and I didn't show you, but when you are draining, some people try to do it like this. So if you want your volume, they try and just do this, like as in up and down to change the... Pretty hard to do. Okay? So if you want to try and do that with the pipette filler on, and you can do that consistently every single time, leave it on. My preference, take the pipette filler off and use your finger. Okay, you've got more control. Alright, questions? Thank you, Jeremy.